Thanks for watching. This is video number 7 in my series on how to design a Fender Telecaster in Fusion 360. In this episode, we'll create the guitar body, we'll cut the pickups and control cavities, we'll pilot holes for the bridge, we'll do through body holes for the strings and ferrel holes, we'll cut the neck pocket, and we'll split the body into 2 pieces to have a laminated top, and that will allow us to cut some wire chases, and we'll wrap up with doing some roundovers on the edges. If you haven't seen the earlier videos, I suggest checking those out first. Just click the info button in the upper right corner to get there. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. I will reply. And if you want to see more videos like this, press the subscribe button. And if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. Okay, so this is where we left off in episode 6. We have a completed neck and a completed fretboard with all the markers, and we also made a nut. We've got all our holes cut in the headstock. So now we're going to move on to the body. And if you remember in episode 2, we actually did a little bit of work in the body because we wanted to establish where the neck started in relation to the body. So inside the body, we've already got a canvas. Let me turn that on, and we'll look straight down at it. And we did this, to set up our scale. We actually moved this canvas to be in concert with our scale. So I'm going to turn that on, and you can see the bridge line in the scale lines up with this line, which is the bridge line in our drawing. And the start of the neck heel, is also in our drawing, and that also aligns. So I think what we want to do here is we want to create a sketch, project a few of these lines in, certainly the center line and the bridge line and the neck line, and then we can start working on the outline of the body. So first thing, I'm going to activate my body, and I want to pre-select the top of the neck without the fretboard. So I'm going to hide the fretboard, hide the nut, hide the truss rod, actually hide the scale too. And so here's our top of neck. So I'm going to pre-select that, and that's going to be our surface plane. Our sketch plane. So I'm going to create a new sketch. That sketch shows up inside our body. And now let's go ahead and project in some of these lines. So if I turn the scale back on, I want the scale center line. So I'm going to hit P for project. We've got the center line selected. I also want to select a bit of this. So I'm actually going to select a little line here, which is the end of our neck. And let's see, what else did we want? Oh, we want our bridge line here. Okay, so those 3 lines, I specifically do not want projection link turned on because I want to change those lines into construction geometry. So I'm going to click OK. And now in the sketch, I should be able to click, shift click a third time, and press X. And now all of those became construction geometry. Now, they are not fixed in space. I can accidentally move those around. So the next thing I want to do is I want to go to my fixed constraint, and I'm going to find each one of those lines and do a fixed constraint on them. So here's my center line, and here's the third line, the bridge. So I've fixed those, and now you can see that the canvas is a little bit dark. So I'm going to go in and open up my canvas folder inside body. Here's my canvas. So I'm going to, I guess I have to get out of the sketch. So I'm going to finish the sketch. Actually, I'm going to rename the sketch while I have an opportunity to. And I'm going to call this outline. So that's the body outline. I will right click and do an edit canvas, and then change the opacity down quite a bit to somewhere around 10%. Now when we draw over this, we'll see our blue lines pretty easily. Okay, so I'm going to go back into my outline sketch, edit that. Now, one thing you'll notice is that there is a lot of symmetry in this body up to a certain point where it stops. I would say it's somewhere in this area. So it looks like this line right here, which is the end of our neck, looks like everything's symmetrical at that point. So what I want to do is I want to draw a vertical line, and I'm going to make sure that's vertical so I can see a horizontal vertical constraint pop up as I draw this. So I'll finish this and hit escape and then click on it and press X, so I've got construction geometry. And now I want to align this line with this one. So let's do a collinear. Click on the one that I want to keep and click on the second one. That did not move. Oh, it looks like the first one did move, so I'm going to do an undo. Let's try that in a different order. Click here and here. Oh. Both times the wrong line was moving. I thought I had fixed this so it wouldn't move. Let me try the fixed constraint again. Okay, so now one more attempt at making these two collinear. Click here and there. Okay, that did work. All right. So now what I'm going to use this line for is this is my symmetry line, basically the end of symmetry. So I'm going to start drawing on one side only and then mirror it to the other side so that we'll have perfect symmetry. And then these two parts of the guitar body will be asymmetrical. Okay, so I'm going to start this by getting my spline tool, and I want to specifically snap to this line. And I'm just looking for dimensions here. They're kind of hard to see, but do I have a dimension? Oh, I do. Okay, this is interesting. So I've got a dimension from this line to the end of the guitar. So I think I'm going to make another vertical construction line here. Again, make that construction geometry. And now, if I look at that dimension, if I zoom in on it, I think I'll be able to see it. Looks like it's 12.847. So I'll get my dimension tool, click on my fixed line, click on the other line. Oops. D for dimension. 1, 2. Okay, there it is. And zoom in again. So I want my 15.96. All right. So that does not look right, does it? Looks like I was looking at the wrong dimension. It's 12.847. So I'm going to double click on this and change that dimension and press enter. Okay, so now this construction line moved in. So here's my end of guitar. Here's my end of symmetry. So I will get my fit point spline, make sure that I intersect at the end of the guitar. And my strategy for tracing a body is basically wherever this curve is kind of changing its elevation, I'm going to put a point in. So I'm clicking along here, generally do one in this valley right here. Halfway up the peak, one at the top of the peak, one as we start to come around the peak. Oh, you know what? I actually went a little too far, so I'm going to undo a couple of times back to here, and I'm going to end. I want it to end on this symmetry line. So I'm going to double click on this point. That's going to allow me to move it right to the symmetry line, and I'll click OK. So now let's take a look and see what we've got here. I think the easiest thing to do, the first approach I usually like to take, is just to move points around and see if you can get the spline to be a little closer to our drawing. Second thing we can do is to click on the spline itself and use these tangent handles by changing the angle and changing the length. And so what I try to do is successively do this point after point. And you can see that as you work on one side, you're screwing up the other side, so it's kind of a tough thing to do. But this is actually looking pretty good. Right here it deviates from the line a little bit, so I'll click on this one and change this curve. This point looks like it's a little far off the line, so I'll just drag the point onto it. This is now a little screwed up. So I don't want to spend a lot of time in this video perfecting this, but you can see you can spend a lot of time doing this. But the important part is that we're going to get symmetry here. So it's going to, if one side looks pretty good, the other side's going to be exact. Okay, I think that's in good enough range. Let me just click on the blue line and you can kind of see that. Okay, so we have gone from the end middle right here, and it actually looks like we're not on the middle, so I'm going to take this point and make sure that it intersects our midline. That was pretty important. And this intersects our end of symmetry line. Okay, so now we can use mirror. We've already got our spline selected. Now we select the mirror line, and we have the spline on the other side. So now we just need to fill in the two asymmetric parts. And we also have this neck in the way, so I'm going to hide that. All right, and our scale, I'm going to hide that. Okay. So now we can pick up by intersecting at the end points of the first spline that we made. So I'll create another spline intersecting it there and take the same approach, just kind of where the curve is changing. I'm going to click a point. And trying not to put too many points in. And you can see right here we have a straight line. So I'm going to finish right there and then start from the other side, and I'll bridge the two with a straight line. So again, we're intersecting the lower spline and clicking where the curve changes. And it looks like we have a straight line here as well. So I'm going to end our spline and go to the line tool, do a straight line from here to here, and another straight line from here to here. And let's see, now we're going to do a small spline right here. Okay. All right, so now it's just a matter of fixing these splines that we've added. So let's start on this part. This is actually looking pretty good right up to here. I'm going to pull the points in first. Okay. Another thing we want to do is get tangency between these line segments. So I'm going to pull this one down first a little bit. That's looking pretty good. And then click on the spline, tangent, click on the line. Okay. So this is probably going to deviate a little bit from the drawing, but it's going to be a nicer curve here. So click on my spline and see if I can get it a little closer to the drawing using these tangent handles. That's looking pretty good. All right, let's fix the upper part here. Now again, this is where our two splines meet, so we want to make sure they're tangent to each other. So I'll click on one, tangent constraint, click on the other. So we've got a nice curve transition between the two. And then again, move points in first. If all the points are pretty much aligned, then we'll go after the spline handles. This is looking pretty good here up until this point. I'm going to get the curve in a little closer and get that in a little closer. Now I can move the point a little bit. It takes a little bit of practice to get good at this, but not too much actually. It's sometimes surprising how easily this goes. I guess I spoke too early. This little area is not great. Oops, and Fusion crashes on me. Oh boy. Okay, so I got the recovery file from the Fusion crash, and let's see where we stand. It looks like we're in pretty good shape. I don't yet have a tangency here, so let's get back into our sketch first off. So I'm gonna activate the body and open up our outline sketch, double click on that icon. Okay, so we do have tangency here, so we're good there. I think we've fixed the bottom curve, and it was right here that I was working. I think that's the only thing left to fix. So let's get that tangent handle. That looks pretty good. That's not too bad. That's out just a little bit there. Okay. Well, as you can see, I could work on this all day, but let's double click to see our entire outline. And that doesn't look too bad to me. Okay, so I'm going to finish the sketch. And now, let's see, we've got a little problem here where this is not construction. This is construction geometry. I'm sorry, this is not construction geometry. So I want to go back into that sketch and see if I can fix that. So if I hit this line, do an X, and finish. Now when I hover over the profile, I just have one profile, which is what I want. Okay. So we can go ahead and extrude this at this point, and then we'll come back and add the pickup cavities. So let's turn our neck on, and we can see that the neck and the body, the top of the neck without the fretboard and the top of the body are all in the same plane. So I'm going to extrude this down 1 3/4 inches. So I'll get my extrude tool and click on this profile and then push downward and type in -1.75 and enter. Now you can see we have these vertical lines that appear where we ended the spline. You know, we started a spline here, we ended at our line of symmetry, same thing over here. And I think we stopped a spline, oh, we stopped a straight line here and went to a little spline section there and then started up another straight line. So that's what those lines are. If you look at the model without our shading, without the edges, you'll see that those go away. So it doesn't affect the 3D body at all. Okay, so back to visual style. Visible with edges. Okay, all right, so we've got the body extruded. Now we want to make another sketch on top of the body and work on all of our cavities inside the top of the body. Okay, so let's make sure our canvas is still turned on. Looks like it is. Yep. All right, so I'm in bodies, a body component. So I'm going to pre-select the top of the body and create a new sketch. Okay. So now I can go ahead and hide the actual body right here so we can see the sketch a little bit better. So there's quite a few cavities here and quite a few measurements. So I'm going to start on this one right here. And we kind of have to derive some of this. So anywhere there's an X, it's actually a circular arc. So I'm actually going to make a circle and make it the proper diameter and then trim away the circle once we get everything else done. So we can kind of see from this measurement right here, 0.343. That looks like that's the radius of the circle. So I'm going to type in 0.343 times 2 for my measurement. And I'm not going to do one down here. I'm going to mirror this, okay? So in order to mirror, we're going to have this mirror line selectable. So let's go ahead and project that in. We'll turn our projection link off. We'll select this center line, which I can't select, so I'm going to activate my scale. Not activate, I'm going to unhide my scale. All right. Turn my projection link off. So now we have this blue line here. I'm going to click on it and hit X to make it construction geometry. And I'm going to go ahead and hide the neck and scale. Okay, so back on this pickup cavity, our neck pickup, we've got the diameter of the, the arc that defines one side, and we're just going to mirror everything to the other side. So this line right here, let's do a straight line up from our center line, and we have a dimension right there, which is 0.356. So I'll type in 0.356 and enter. Okay. Now, if we can find how far that is, we've got a 0.617 from the center of this circle, but we haven't really located the circle yet in space. So let's do that first. Let's see. Here's a dimension that is from X to X. So we're going to do half of that from here to our center line. So this is going to be 2.564 divided by 2. Okay. That's our vertical position for this circle. Now horizontally, it looks like we can get a dimension off of the end of the neck. So let's bring our neck in and let's do a projection. Get this palette out of the way. And so we want this line right here. Turn off projection link, bring that in, and then click on it and make that construction geometry. Okay, so now we'll be able to dimension from that. All right, so another thing I want to do is I want to fix that. So I'm going to hit my fix constraint and click on that. Okay, so now let's see, we can dimension this circle from this edge right here. And that dimension is, where is it? Well, the edge of the circle, let's see, that's our radius. And, okay, so 0.460 from there to there, and then another. Okay, so if I just add those two together, if I go from here to here, there's our dimension. And that's going to equal 0.460 plus 0.343. Okay, great. So now we've located this circle in space. All right, so here's a horizontal line that's going to go from this position. So I'm actually going to hover over this and just go straight up. And then over, and then type my dimension in here. So D, pull down, and let's see, if we scroll up here, this is 0.460. Okay, so now I can do a line, come straight up, and meet that circle with tangency. Great. And this line is kind of hanging out here in space. We've got the height of it, but we also need how far it is from here to there. So let's see. If I do a dimension from here to the center of the circle, that is 0.617. Okay, so that's now fixed in space. So I'm going to do a line from this point and then to where I get tangency here. That doesn't look right here. Looks like I added another line. Okay, so I'll go back to line, click there, and then get my tangency on the circle. Okay, So it looks like all I have to do is one more line down here to the center line. Let's try that again. From here to the center at 90 degrees. All right, so we're looking good there. Now all we have to do is triple click on this group of lines. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do a trim first. So I'll hit escape and we'll come in and we'll trim away parts of that circle that we're not using. Okay, now I'm going to hit escape and double click on these lines, and you can see we've got half of it defined here. So if I go up to mirror, I've got my 6 line segments selected, and then click here for the mirror line, and there we go. So now if that works, I'll be able to hover over this profile and it will all turn blue, which it does. Okay, so that's the neck pickup cavity. Next, let's move into this one. This is an oddball cavity here. And it looks like we've got a radius of 0.430 in 2 places. So I assume that's here and here. So let me get my circle. I'll kind of start it close to where this cross is. And we'll put our radius in and then multiply that by 2. So 0.430 times 2 is the radius of that circle. Now I'm going to click, do a Control C, Control V. I made a copy of it. I can move it. And make sure you don't hit escape, hit enter when you're done moving this around. Okay, so I pressed enter, so I've got a circle there. And then I've got, let's see, 1, 2, 3 more crosses, and this says a radius of 0.265 in 3 places. So I'm going to make one and copy it twice. So I'll type in my radius, 0.265 times 2 for my diameter, and then click on it, Control C, Control V, move this around, and press enter, and then another Control C, Control V to copy it, and move this kind of roughly in its right spot, and press enter. Okay. So now we just need to position these circles in space and then draw lines tangent to them. Okay, so let's see, we've got a dimension to here, which is 2.434. So let's get our bridge back in. So I'm going to go to the scale and hover over the bridge position, hit P for project. Projection link is turned off, doing OK. Turn this into construction geometry. Another thing we want to do is fix it in space, so I hit my fix constraint, click on it. That should be fixed. Okay, so now this outer dimension is this circle to the bridge line. So I'll hit D, bridge, center of circle, and bring this up. And you can see it's mighty close already. So 2.434 inches. Okay, that horizontal is set. We might as well work our way down here and put the dimensions kind of right over where they are in the drawing. So we're still in the dimension tool. So I'm going to click bridge, click the center of this circle, come up here and type in 2.222. And same thing here. Bridge to center of circle. And this one's 1.576 and enter. Continue working horizontally here. Let's see, where's the dimension on this guy? I'm not seeing that just yet. Well, let's dimension this one. So D, bridge, center of circle, click 1.603, and oh, here's our dimension right here. Okay, so D, center of circle, bridge, 1.073. Okay, So we've positioned our 5 circles horizontally. Now let's do it vertically. So let's see, vertically we got 0.146 vertically to the center line. So we're still in dimension, center of circle to center line, and this is going to be our 0.146. Okay, this one, D, center of circle, midpoint. This is our 1.025. Oops, now that line, see that line moved, our center line moved, so I'm going to undo that a couple of times. Come in with my fix constraint and fix that, so hopefully that's not going to move. And let's see, let's double click on our dimension, 1.025. And there, our circle did move, and the center line did not. Okay. Now let's get this one vertically. So again, we're going to do D. Our dimension is right here. So click on the center, pull it over to where our dimension is, 1.016, enter. Okay. And you can see when we start giving these all their dimensions, they turn black. So they're fully constrained at that point. So we've got 2 more circles to do. Let's see. This one looks like it's 0.999. Not sure why that wouldn't be an inch, but D. That's our 0.999. That one becomes fixed or fully constrained. It turns black. And now here's our final dimension, which is 0.630. So center of circle to center line vertically here, 0.630. Okay. So we have now defined all our circles. So now it's just a matter of doing tangent lines. The first point, I don't see a way. I thought with a shift key you could make this tangent or control or alt or something, but I don't see one that does. So we're going to come back and make that tangent. When we go to the second circle, you can see the tangent constraint pops up automatically. So now I'm going to go to tangent, click on this line and this circle, and now that becomes black. Okay, so repeat the operation, get the line tool, click somewhere on that circle, tangent here, go back to tangent, get this and that. I'll hit L for line, start on the circle, tangent to the circle, get my tangent constraint, line and circle, that turns black. Okay, back to line. Try to get tangency here. Oops, let me try that again. L for line. Okay, so we intersected with that circle, and there's tangency right there. Get our tangent constraint, line, and this circle. Doesn't seem to be working. Let's try that again. I think I was getting this little line segment right here, which I'm not sure what that is, so I'm going to delete that. Okay, so back into line. I'm intersecting with my circle, and then I'm getting tangency right there. So I need to set tangency on this side. So click on the line, tangent constraint, click on the circle. That goes black. So we've got one more line segment to do. L for line, intersect the circle, intersect where there's tangency there, and establish tangency here. Okay, so now when we zoom out, you can see everything's turned black. So now it's just a matter of trimming these inner circles. So we get our trim tool and trim there and there. So all you do is you hover over a line. When it turns red, you click if you want to trim it. Fusion is automatically detecting, the extra lines that are there, or arc segments. That looks good. I think these arc segments are just defining the radius of the arc. So somehow we lost our radius here. So let's dimension that. 2 here. There we go. And I'm not sure if we lost our tangency here too. The reason I'm bringing that up is these lines turn blue. They're no longer black. So let's reestablish this is tangent to the arc. I guess that happened when I probably over trimmed something. Make this tangent to this arc. And now we're fully black again. Okay. So now when we hover over this, if we turn our other sketches off, like our scale, we have the same problem as we did earlier, where this line is not construction. So I'll hit X, X. I guess we have 2 lines here. So there's probably 2 lines on top of each other. I'm seeing one that is construction geometry. So if I hold down here, I see sketch line and sketch line. Here's a solid one. So I'm going to pick that and do a delete. And it looks like it deleted it. So proof is in the pudding here. Yes. Okay. Now when we hover over this, we're getting 1 profile and 1 profile for this. Okay. So we've got the 2 pickup cavities done. Next thing we want to do is this control cavity, and this will go a little bit faster. Looks like we've got a 1-inch diameter. So I'm going to make a 1-inch diameter circle here. The position of this is not real critical either, but so I'm going to do 1 inch and then click, Control C, Control V, move this horizontally, and hit Enter. And somewhere there's probably a dimension between these two. Here it is here, 0.557. So I'm going to do a dimension from here to here. 5.570. That doesn't look right. That was, oh, okay, so that's the edge. That's edge to edge. Okay, so we're going to subtract a radius from each side from that. So that's going to be 1 inch total. So if we do 4.570, that looks right. That's in line with our drawing. Okay. Now, the exact position of this vertically and horizontally is not super crucial. I'm actually not, well, let's see. We've got a dimension. What do we have here? We have a dimension right here. I guess I'll give it a shot here. So we want to dimension from the center of the circle to the start of the neck right here, which is the same as this front pickup. And let's see what that dimension should be. It should be this dimension right here, 4.560 plus half of our radius, so half an inch. So it's going to be 5.060. 5.060. So very close to what it was. So we were almost in perfect position. Okay, so I'm going to get lines here and do the same trick we did earlier. Intersect the circle, make it tangent on one side, come back, make it tangent on the other side, and then same thing here, intersect the circle, intersect with tangency, get tangency here and here. And then come in with the trim tool, trim this inner arc away, and now we have a selectable profile for our control cavity. Okay. So now we want to do the neck, and I think what we're going to do is actually cut that with the neck itself to get a perfect fit there. So we're going to breeze by that for now, and I think we'll come back and do these holes later. So we've got our 3 cavities cut, and let's finish this, and then go to our sketch and rename that to cavities. Okay, now we've got to extrude our cavities. So we'll turn the body back on. And in our plan somewhere, which is hard to see now with the body on, so let me turn the body back off. Somewhere we should see how deep these are. So this says pickup pocket is 0.850 deep. Does this one have a depth? I don't see it. And what is the depth here? Okay, control cavity. I think I clipped that off on the drawing. So I'm going to stop the recording here and try to get the depths of these three cavities and come back and do the extrusions. Okay, so I've found the dimensions. We want to do a control cavity that is 1.5 inches deep. So let's do that one first. So I'm going to go to bodies, click on here, hit E for extrude. We're pushing downward. It's automatically cutting here in the dialog box. So we'll type in -1.5. And there's our control cavity cut. Okay, so our sketch got hidden, so I'm going to turn our cavity sketch back on. And these two are 0.85. So let's do an E. So since these are the same depth, we can do them both at the same time. So I'm clicking on each of the profiles, pushing down, and this is -0.85. Okay, so we've got our control cavities cut. We're actually going to cut the neck pocket using the neck itself, so we'll do that a little later. Let's do these holes here. So we have a series of holes that are for the bridge, the mounting of the bridge plate, and they are right on the bridge line. And then we also have a series of holes for the strings and the ferrules from the backside that hold the strings. Okay, so and we also have some holes here for the neck. So let's just make another sketch. We'll probably have a sketch that's just holes. So we're in our body. We're going to do the sketch on this top plane again. So let's pre-select it, top of the guitar body, and make a new sketch. And our drawing, our canvas is still displayed. So let's hide the body so we can see the canvas a little bit better. Now this is a good use of rectangular patterns. These holes are all evenly spaced. So if we figure out where one of them are and the spacing between them, which it looks like we've got all that data, we can go ahead and automatically do these holes at once. So I'm going to get my circle, press C for circle. I'll just make this circle, and this looks like it's going to be 0.125, 1/8 of an inch. Okay, so it looks like there's an outer circle too. We might as well make that. This is going to be a hole that goes all the way through for the string to pass through the body. And then on the back side, we're going to have a another hole that the ferrule is going to fit into. So I want to make another circle starting from the same center. And I'm going to come out and I'm going to make this one 0.375, 3/8 of an inch for that ferrule to fit in. But you know, you should figure out what your equipment is first to, you know, before you actually make this hole. Okay, so we've got the two holes concentric to each other. It looks like now all we need to do is figure out the spacing, and space from one end to the other we've got, and it looks like 3 equal spaces at 0.85. Okay, I'm trying to figure out what 3 equal spaces means here. Oh, okay, those are for the bridge pilot holes. Okay, so we've got 5 equal spaces here. Each one is 0.425. Okay, so we want this evenly centered from the center line, which we have right here. And we've got this dimension here. Let's see the best way of doing this. I'm going to get my dimension tool. I'm going to dimension from here to here. And that looks like that's 2.25 2.125 divided by 2. So 2.125 divided by 2. Okay. That moved those circles up just a little bit. Okay, so we've established where that circle should be from the midline. Now we also want to establish where that circle should be from the bridge line. So I'm going to do a D, get my circle center here, and click on the bridge line. And there's my dimension. I could drag that dimension down here, I suppose. And that's 0.320. So 0.320. I'll hit enter. I'm just going to drag this down to where the dimension is in the drawing. Okay, so we've established the position of one of these. That's all we really need to do because we know the spacing between them and they're going to be in a vertical line. So at this point we go into our rectangular pattern, and first thing we're going to select the objects that we want to pattern. So we have two circles that we want to pattern. So I'll click on those two. Select direction. That's vertical, which we can use this bridge line to do that. Okay, now it is the extent. We can actually do either one. We can do an extent here, which is center to center is this 2.125. So let's do that. That's extent. Quantity, we want 6. Distance, 2.125. And it looks like our direction went in the wrong direction, so we'll put in a minus 2.125. And there you can see all of the circles have generated in this rectangular pattern. So that's great. We can just click on OK, and they're all fully constrained. Now, if for some reason you wanted to change that, if you look closely here, you'll see a little constraint thing right here. That's the rectangular pattern constraint. If I double click on that, that opens up the rectangular pattern dialog, and you actually can go back in and make changes to that. But we don't need to, so I'll just click on cancel. Okay, so now we have these holes, which are pilot holes for where our bridge equipment is going to be mounted. Okay, so let's get a circle here, and let's see, 4 places DP in diameter. So our diameter is 1.09. So I'm going to click on this, do a dimension, 1 point, I'm sorry, is it 1 point? Let me scroll back up there. 0.109. Okay, 0.109. Okay, so that's our hole. Okay, so we want to align the center of this hole with our bridge. So the easiest way to do that is the horizontal vertical constraint. Click on this point, and now you can see those constraints pop up. All right, so we also want to position this hole a distance from our center line. This dimension is actually twice that distance. So I'll hit D, center of hole to center line, and then type in our 2.55 dimension off the plan, /2, divide that in half. Okay, so now this hole is positioned, and it is fully constrained, it's black. So now we want to do our rectangular pattern, and first thing we're prompted to select are the objects. So it's just this circle. Next is the direction, so we'll use our bridge line. You can see that the arrow is pointing up, so we're going to have to put a negative distance in. The extent, so the total distance between all of the patterns is going to be this 2.55. Quantity, we want 4. So here's our distance, and we want negative 2.55. We can see the holes here. So just click OK, and there we go. All right. So let's finish the sketch. And then there are some more cavities here in the body, but they're basically wire chases. And this one is specifically covered by the Telecaster pick guard. What I'd rather do is actually make a two-piece laminated body, and then before the two laminations are glued up, we can cut wire chases between these pickups. So taking that approach, I think what we're going to do here is we'll start with some construction lines. And maybe let's do this in a separate sketch. So we've finished that sketch. Let's name the sketch. So these are our holes. I ended up double clicking on the sketch, didn't mean to. So click, pause, click, holes. Okay, now let's pre-select the top of the neck, make another sketch. This is going to be our wire chase. And we'll start with construction lines. So I'll go up here in the palette, turn construction on, and I want to be able to intersect here and here. So I can't do that yet. So let me hit escape and double click here, hit P for project, double click here, and here. So we've got the control cavity and the two pickup cavities all selected. And I'm going to turn off the projection link. And now I want these as all construction. Oh, I guess they did come in as construction. Okay, we're good. All right. So now when I get a line, I want the construction still on. I'm just going to draw a line where I want the wire chase to be. And another line here. It doesn't really matter. It's kind of shortest distance here. Did we get a straight line? No, I got a tiny little line there. So let me start again. L for line, intersect here and intersect here. All right. I think that's all we need to do. So the control cavity is linked now to these other two. And basically, I'm going to use these lines as guidelines for real geometry that is also going to intersect with the pickup cavities. And I'll do my dimension from the center here to my real line. And let's make these, let's make these 3/8 of an inch. So this will be 3/16 on this side, and we'll make another one here, vertical and intersect. Not sure we got vertical. Yeah, we did. Okay. Now set the dimension from, it looks like I got two line segments there, so I'm going to undo that. So L. Okay. Now I'm going to make sure that this is vertical, which it is. Make sure this one's vertical, and then I can do my dimension from one to the other. And this is going to be my 0.375. So 3/8 of an inch centered on this construction line, which looks like it got moved a little bit. Let me see if I move this line. Yeah, we're actually changing our pickup. So I don't want to do that. Well, anyway, that's a good enough wire chase. I'll be more careful on this one here. Okay, so line from here. Oops. I find that if I click quickly and move, sometimes Fusion will make a little short line segment. Okay, so this line I want to be parallel to this line. All right, and then we'll make another line here. And oops, see, I got that same short line segment there. So L, got to be a little bit more deliberate here. Click, wait a second, click. Okay, so let's see. Our dimension here is going to be from here to here, 3/16, and from here to here, also 3/16. Oops, am I not in my dimension tool? Hit D for dimension. Okay, there we go. Oh, I'm getting an angle instead. All right, so I'm going to make this one parallel to this one. Okay. So now I should be able to get a dimension tool here. Yep, there we go. Still getting, well, anyway, let's just measure from here to here. This is giving us an angle also. I'm going to delete this line and come in with another line. Again, I'm clicking a little too fast. From here to here. This is definitely not parallel, so I will go ahead and make it parallel to this line and then get my dimension tool and hopefully be able to dimension from here to here. Okay, good. 3/16. Okay, so our full channel is 3/8. Okay, so we want to be able to select this. This is not a closed profile yet, so I guess what we can do here is, there's no reason why we couldn't do a straight line from here to here. And another one from here to here. Because this will probably not be at the same depth as our pickups. So get my line tool and go from here to here, and now we've got a cavity that we can pick. Same thing here. We'll do a straight line from here to here, and another that's a little bit inside this pickup cavity. Oops, got a little bit of weirdity going on there. L for line, click, click. Okay. All right. So those are our wire chases. So let's finish the sketch here. And I think we have some holes here, but we'll come back and do that once we position the neck. I think at this point, we finished that sketch. Let's name it. So these are our wire chases. All right. Finish sketch. Yep. Okay. So these are going to be handy once we split the body. So let's look at the body. Here it is. And if we decide to put a 1/2 inch of, high quality wood on the top, actually where we probably should split this is, well, okay, let's split it at a 1/2 inch. All right. I was going to say let's split it right where the neck pocket is, but that's probably a little dangerous. All right, so we've got a solid body. We want to make it into 2. Let's open up our bodies folder. There's our body. Okay. So we need something to split. One way we can do that is through a construction plane. So let's do an offset plane. We're going to pick at the top. And we're going to go down, so it's going to be a negative distance, negative 0.5. So there's our splitting plane. Okay, so now if we go to split body, pick the body that we want to split. The splitting tool is going to be the plane that we just created. And do an OK. Now you're going to see that we have 2 bodies, and one is a 1/2 inch thick here. Okay, so you can see we've got 2 separate bodies here. Now, we can make those 2 different kinds of wood in our appearance or not, but this is going to give us the ability to make these wire chases in the second body. So let's see which one is the top. Okay, so that's the top. So I'm going to slow double click on that, call that the top, and slow double click on this one, call this the bottom. Okay, so let's hide the top, and we have sketches that are no longer on that top plane. Let's show the bottom. They hover over, I mean they're on the top plane. They hover over the top of this body that we just created. So I'm going to hide our construction plane. And now we want to cut these wire chases down into this lower piece of our body. So we can get E for extrude. We can hover over this chase and this chase. And now we don't just want to extrude down. We want to start at an offset plane. So instead of starting on the profile plane, which is your default, we're going to pick an offset and we're going to tell it where the offset is. So I'm going to hover over the top here. So that's our offset. And we're going to go in a downward direction with our cut. Okay, and our cut is going to be, let's call it 3/4 of an inch. And let's see how that looks. Okay. So we've got everything cut out. It looks like this little piece, let's hide our sketches to see. And let's go ahead and hide our canvas. We got a little piece that didn't get cut out. So we're going to go back into that sketch and extend that out. But otherwise our wire chases go between our pickup cavities. And we can kind of evaluate whether we want to bring it down. In fact, I think let's bring it down to the same level, this 0.85. So let's do that first. We'll go into our timeline, right click, edit feature, and set this to 0.85 instead of 0.75. Okay, so now the floor of our wire chase is the same as the floor of our pickups. All right, that makes sense. And now we need to get this little piece out. So let's go back into our wire chase sketches. And you can see right here, we're going to actually just try to grab this outer line. See if we can move this. Yeah. We're actually moving this part too, but this is just projection stuff. So I think we're okay here. Let's finish the sketch. And you can see that's all we need to do is just change that sketch and the extrusion happens again with the updated sketch and our wire chases are done. Now we put our top back on and you don't even see the wire chases. Okay, so we're getting close to finishing up this. There's two things that we want to do here. Is one, put the round over on the top and bottom. But first we want to cut the neck pocket. And so earlier I said we will use the actual neck to cut the neck pocket. So let's do that. The first time I tried doing this, I ran into problems because if I hide the guitar body here, you'll see that the neck has the truss rod slot cut out of it. So if you use the neck itself as a cutting tool in the guitar body, this truss rod slot will not get removed out of the guitar body. So another approach is to simply use the bottom face of the neck and extrude that upward. Now there's one trick involved because if you extrude that upward, you're going to cut through the neck. So you actually have to, in that extrude, unselect the neck as something that is going to get cut. So easier demonstrated than described. So basically I've got my body as the active component. I'm going to hit E for extrude. And now I'll just start coming upward. And you can see, well, I had that surface, this bottom surface selected. Let me unselect and show you again. So I'm going to select this surface here as my cutting surface. And I'm going to go up through the neck and the two pieces of the body. But down here in the dialog box, I can unselect the neck from being cut. Okay, so now when I finish the operation and I hide the neck, you'll see that the body, the neck pocket in the body is perfectly cut through both of these. But there's this little sliver left over. And so what's happened here is when we sketched the perimeter of the body, we went a little bit outside of where the neck is. So I think an easy fix for that is to go back into our outline sketch and actually turn the neck on when we're in there. And we want to, I think, actually project this line into our sketch and use that instead of this line. So I'm going to kill that line and hit P for project. Project this line in. Okay. And now it looks like, let's see what we have for a profile. It looks like we can select this profile here. Let's hide our neck now. And this line, I think we're going to trim this. So let's trim this here and here. And okay, so there's a little trim to be done here as well. And I think we want to do a tangent relationship there. So let's see if we can pull this off without messing up our geometry. Okay, that looks good. And we're going to try to do the same here. This tangent to that. It's not allowing us to select that. So hopefully that's already tangent, or maybe it's not intersecting. Ah, it's not intersecting. Okay, so we want to do a trim here, right here. Trim that geometry off, and now the two sides should be intersecting. And now let's see if we can make these two tangent to each other. Okay, so now we have tangency. This line got projected in from our neck, so it should be in line with the neck. Let's finish our sketch. And then when we go back to where we are currently in the timeline, you'll see that everything got cut properly. So it doesn't take much to go back, change the sketch, and fix your issue. Okay, so now we want to do our round over. And I think this is not much of a round over. Let's try an 1/8 of an inch fillet. So we have our body as our active component. We go into fillet. And now it's just a matter of clicking on the appropriate lines. That got us, 2 clicks got us all the way around the body. So let's set this to 0.125 and take a look at that. That looks pretty good. Okay, so in the same fillet operation, we can do another one. So we'll do a plus here and click on the bottom edges. So 3 clicks got us all the way around on the bottom. And again, 1.125 here. And enter. Now we're getting an error when we come around this corner. I think that this corner is a little too tight, maybe, to do our fillet. Let's see if we do 0.625. That would work. All right, that's pretty slight. So we've got a couple of choices. We can have a smaller fillet here, or try to change this geometry so that Fusion is able to fillet that. Let's go with the 0.625. That's not much of a round over, but the Telecaster really doesn't have much. So let's go back into our fillet feature and change the top fillet to match that. Or maybe we'll go somewhere in between. So this is an 1/8 of an inch. Let's try to do 3/32 and 3/32 on the bottom. We got 3/3, 3/32. Okay, did that work? Yes. Okay. So there's our round over. And one more thing I forgot, we have to drill our holes through. So let's bring up our hole sketches. And we can see that we have the holes that go all the way through the body, which are these guys here. Let's get our holes back. Okay, there they are. So these will be pretty easy to deal with. The inner ones, let's do an extrude first. I started selecting. I'm going to kill my selection here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These are going to go all the way through both of our bodies. So I'm going to pull this down. Oops. I think I pulled down everything but those 6. Let's try that again. E for extrude, and then I'm going to select our 6 inner circle profiles just by clicking on them, and then pull these down. Our distance is going to be all. Our objects to cut are going to be both the top and bottom body pieces. So if I click OK, then our holes we can see on the other side of the body. Now we've got our ferrule holes, which are actually cut from the opposite side. So let's turn this whole sketch back on. And let's see, we are going to select them on this side. So on the top side, even though we want the ferrule countersinks to be cut on the bottom. So, oops, let's do an extrude first. I'll kill the selection. Now I want the outer and inner circles. One big hole here. So when I get done, I should have 12 selected, which is what the dialog box says. Now, instead of the profile plane, I'm going to pick an object to start from. And that object is going to be the bottom of the guitar. And then I'm going to push upwards, and let's go in, let's say 3/8 of an inch. Again, this would depend on your ferrules. So now I've cut these big relief holes, 3/8 of an inch. Let me hide the sketches. And then the other holes go all the way through. Okay. So we also need the pilot holes for the bridge. So let's turn our whole sketch back on. And we can turn the cavities off. Okay, there's our whole sketch here. So these are going to be little pilot holes. So E for extrude. 1. Actually, this line that got projected in is dividing these profiles up, so I'm actually picking 2 halves there. I could go back into the sketch and try to make that into construction geometry to fix that problem, but not worth it in this case. So now I'm just going to come down, and I'm not going to go very far here. I'll call it minus 0.25 inch. So those would get drilled by the CNC, so we don't have to align anything. And we do have 4 neck holes too. I don't think we did that in the sketch. So let's go back into the sketch. So I double clicked on the sketch itself. I'll turn the bodies off, and we want to turn the canvas back on. There it is. Okay, so here are the holes here. And again, this looks like a nice rectangular pattern. So let's go ahead and see if we've got a radius for the hole. 5/16 diameter. 4 places. Okay, so we go up to our circle, start here, come out 5/16. Boy, that looks a lot bigger than what that hole shows up on the plan. 5/16 diameter, far side, 4 places. Okay, well, we can always come back and change this size. Okay, so between the two are 2 inches. So I'm going to make a copy. So Control C, Control V, and then move this one horizontally. And actually I can put 2 inches here, but I guess we want to do that with a dimension. So D, go from center to center, put in 2 inches here. Okay, so now how far are those from the center? So half of 1.5. So we'll do a dimension here and here. And so that's 3/4. Okay. And let's see if we can, oh, okay. So our final dimension is going to be from the end of the neck over, and that's this 0.627. So in this sketch, we don't yet have the neck in there. So let's turn the neck on, and let's go to P for project. Here's the end of neckline. We're going to project that in, and we'll make that construction geometry by clicking on it and pressing X. And now we can get this dimension in from this hole to the construction line, and that is our 0.627. Okay, so we've got these set in space in the proper spot, and then all we have to do is mirror them over to the other side. So let's go to mirror, let's select our two circles, and let's select our mirror line. Boy, those do look big. Okay, so let's finish here and let's see if we can change the diameter of one of these, and hopefully they'll all change. Oops. Which one? Maybe we started with this one. So let's double click on this diameter. This is 5/16. Let's change that to, I don't know, 1/8. Okay. That looks a little small. Let's go to 3/16. And again, this would depend on the screws that you're using. But okay, let's just go with 3/16. And it looks like we didn't get that updated. This one is updated. Let's change this one now. So double click on this dimension, and then we'll just click on this dimension over here to make those the same. And then when it gets mirrored to the other side, it's the same. Okay. So our sketch is done. We've updated our whole sketch. And now we've got a situation where the sketch is far off from where we want to cut. We go to extrude. We select our 4 profiles. And we don't cut from the profile plane, which is what the plane that I selected the 4 on. We're going to do an object. We're going to pick the neck pocket as our starting position. And then we're going to push down through there. And our distance is going to be all. And now when we hide our neck, and let's see, we want to hide our canvas. We can click on this line and see where that is. Okay, so we have sketches here. I'm going to hide all of those. And then clean up our body a little bit. Collapse that, and now you can see that our holes went all the way through. So that is our completed Telecaster body. It has ferrule holes, has string holes, has neck mounting holes, neck pocket cut, neck pickup, bridge pickup, controls, and it's also 2-piece so that we can get some nicer wood on the top. And also that allows us to have, if I hide the top here, to have our wire chase cavities already pre-cut. Okay. Sorry for the length of this video. It didn't quite go as smoothly as I wanted, but we're done.